Today I'm going to create a card using Fawn Frosty Fairy Friends and some paper that I'm going to make using some scraps that I have. I have a lot of scraps of pink papers and I have trouble letting go of them. So I'm going to go ahead and take all of these papers and I'm going to cut them into strips in varying widths and sizes just based on the scraps that I have. This is a great way for you to use some of your extra scraps that you might have. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of paper that is not very thick. It doesn't have to be substantial cardstock because I'm going to layer these strips on it. So one of the things that's great about this is that for many things you need to use a really good cardstock for your base. In this case, because you're going to be adding these strips on top of the adhesive that I laid down, you don't really have to have a good piece of cardstock underneath, and it could be white or any other color. Now I'm going to go ahead and layer these on at an angle, and I do this at an angle because I don't have to be as precise. So I just go in and layer these on, and I've sped this up quite a bit just to give you an idea of what it looks like to go ahead and put them on. And once I'm done, I can trim this up and it'll be a great little piece of background paper for pretty much any card base. And as you can see, I really didn't spend a lot of time going through and picking the different color order. I really just wanted to get this put down, and I also wanted to use the paper. So because I'm using this as a card base, I don't need to be that precise. And you can see I did a number of them with some of the scraps that I had. And now because I wanted to create a little bit of interest, I'm using a white Jelly Roll pen to add some kind of stitching. And then I'm also using a Wink of Stella clear glitter pen to go ahead and add just a little bit more interest. And so you can see, super simple background, but it gives me that base. Now I'm going to go in with the Frosty Fairy Friends, and I have stamped this with Memento Ink, and I'm going in and coloring this in just to make these a little bit more colorful. And they're super cute. I love the Frosty Fairy Friends stamp set from Fawn. I find that I use it quite a bit. And I'm just doing some basic coloring. The thing about Fawn is that they have some really great images that are super easy to color. And what I'm doing in as well is as I'm finishing these, I'm going in and I'm adding a couple of little accents with the white Jelly Roll pen, just to give it kind of a little bit more dimension and just to give it a little bit more of an interest. And I'm also using the Wink of Stella on the wings a little bit and just making it a little bit more glittery because fairies have glitter on them, so it seems like a good pairing. Like I said, I'm just running through this very, very quickly. It's not coloring that is super detailed. You might also notice that there's a lot of space in between each of these items. I'm actually not going to use the coordinating die for these. I am going to go in and I am going to use a circle punch to be able to cut these out. So that's what I'm going to do now is reach for my circle punch and go ahead and try to center these as best as I can and just go ahead and cut these out using that circle punch. I love coordinating dies, but sometimes just using a punch like this is super easy, quick, and it does what you want. And now I'm going to go ahead and take a look at putting this on the card base just to kind of get an idea of where I want it positioned. And I'm going to use that same punch to go in and just eyeball where I would like to have these items. What I'm trying to do here is, in addition to being able to use this paper and use some of my scraps, I really would like to have a flat card that I can go in and easily mail, and so that's one of the reasons why I'm cutting out these areas instead of putting them on. Now I'm just using some Distress Oxide to soften up the round edges on those little fairy medallions. And now I'm going to trim this down just a little bit so that it fits on a regular 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 note card. And I'm just pushing them in, pushing these little medallions in so that they are in the area in the center. So I haven't put any adhesive down on this. I'm just sort of placing everything where I think it needs to go, and I'm putting them in to make sure that they fit the way that I want them and that I have them sort of the angle at which that I want them. And now I can flip this over and they'll stay in, and I can lay down some adhesive to be able to actually put this onto my card base. And that's just a simple little trick to get it to do what you want it to when it comes to putting this down. And now I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to my basic card base, trying to line it up as best that I can. And as you can see, it is now on my card base. And one of the things that's great about this is it gives it an opportunity to really use your scraps. Now I'm trying to figure out how I would like to do the sentiment. This is actually a road border from Lawn Fawn. I find myself using it a lot of the time as a banner. I think I have yet to use it as a road. So what I've done is I've just die cut this, and I'm trying to just trim it up and decide how I'd like this sentiment to appear. But I really would like it to follow the curve of this little medallion or this little dot that I have the fairy in. And it didn't occur to me until I had fooled around with it a little bit that I could just use the curve of the circle punch to get the exact curve that I wanted. So it took me a minute to think about that. And now, once I did, I now have a piece that perfectly fits. And I've gone ahead and I'm going to stamp that sentiment with Versafine ink. And I used some Distress Oxide worn lipstick to just soften up the edges, just like I did with the fairy medallions. And now I'm going to just glue that down with some strong adhesive. Keep in mind that if there are any little places on either your paper base or your sentiment that need to have a little bit of extra adhesion because they're just very small sections, you can use some strong glue for that. And I use the Ranger Multi-Matte Medium. But you can see this is just a very simple, straightforward, flat card that will mail easily. And it gives you an opportunity to kind of use up some of your scraps. So I have a question for all of you. How is it that you use or you go through some of your extra papers or your extra supplies? How do you utilize those on projects? And do you save them? Because I know many people that don't choose to save them. I want to thank you all for stopping by. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and select the like button. If you'd like to see more from us here at Dory Creative, consider subscribing and clicking that notification button so that you can be informed of when we have new videos. Thank you, and remember, always be creative.